Right, Blighty Boxing with Frank Warren and Queensberry, joined by Francis Warren, who I caught his eye early on and he was looking like a bundle of stress. And I was thinking, is this boxing business getting tougher at the moment? Is it still a bit difficult? Post-pandemic?
I think you can't keep blaming COVID for things. I think it's a weird transition that I think we find boxing in terms of people wanting to hold on to rankings a lot more, and that I think is affecting some of the fights or great fights that could be made. There's not many yard Arthurs that were willing to put it on the line and just to get that career enhancement. Almost like a fast forward fight, isn't it? Because it's just what I'm trying to say. And Echo and Danny Ball, they don't have to do this. They could just plod along nicely. But we're just very fortunate in the fact that our guys are willing to put it all on the line.
You can almost say that across the board in the sense where you've got people like Liam Davis would happily fight Andrew Kane, and Louis Lynn will fight Johannes, who's unbeaten, and go on and on.
We've got some, and there's nothing. Maybe that's just the vibe that we give off as a company, that when we sign guys who are willing to go and put it on the line, and also I think the guys are confident that if it doesn't go their way, that we're quite strong in the fact that we'll always look after people and bring them back, because a loss doesn't define a career. I think it's the probably inactivity and not taking the fights that can cause problems.
All being said, not every fight can be in-house, can it? Some of these people have got to sort of come in at some point.
Jason and Brad, it's a great fight. I mean, Jason gave a great account of himself when he boxed Mark Connon on one of our shows a few years ago. And Brad, I mean, to do what he's done by the age of 23 with zero amateur experience, British outright, Commonwealth, and now fighting for a European title by the age of 23. Fantastic. All these guys really are willing to step up. Danny Boy and Sam Gilly, that was a great fight. Back in February, March, absolutely terrific fight. And Danny could could have just sort of. You could have gone, I've had that tough one, just, I'll have a 6 rounder in, but no, he doesn't want that. He wants to fight Echo, who looked absolutely devastating against Chris Jenkins. So the guys who we work with are second to none. They're brilliant, and they're all absolute warriors, and all want to be successful, but are willing to do it the entertaining way, which is probably the hard way.
Now, you've been left to deal with the bread and butter this weekend, but to my mind it's bread and butter with a bit of jam on top, isn't it? Because it's decent, isn't it? It's a good fight. I mean, Brad and Jason is a really good pre-title fight, isn't it? Like you say, you've got the unbeaten British title fight, Echo and Danny. There's other good people on the card.
Callum Johnson,
Johnson, of course,
former world title challenger, and
that fella he's fighting half looked mean, doesn't he?
Yeah. He does, yeah. I mean, I hope we got that one right.
When I first saw him, I thought, to remind me of that Kurt Zedis.
He does look. I mean, he's got a bit of a Kovalev look about him. Listen, it's been mooted as a banana skin by a few people. Just because he's not particularly well known doesn't mean he can't fight. But again, it's as I said about Zach Parker not getting the fights because people just won't miss the ranking. It's the same thing with people fighting Callum Johnson. They just. They see him. He's got a title. He's got a ranking title. He's well ranked as well. Callum. He's not far off a world title shot. And people still don't want to challenge him. People, if you beat someone at that level, then you pretty much swap positions, don't you? You kind of you put yourself in pole position to take over what they've got. So. It's very strange that you've got guys who are ranked 14, 15 that won't take that step up. It's very strange. But I find it very, very odd because I know our guys would jump at that chance.
Absolutely. Just while we're here, today you threw it forward a bit to November the 6th, and you actually did some opponent announcements. Lennox Clark, who's been on the missing persons list a little bit, he's fighting Roland Rat and
Robert Rax.
I tried that with Lennox and he'd never heard of Roland Rat, so it completely went flat.
Showing my age.
Yeah, I knew you were old enough. Nathan Heaney's fighting Jananin, who's quite an experienced opponent, isn't it?
He's went the distance for Martin Murray, who we all know how good Martin was and how tough he was. So he's got something about him, this fella.
Zach Parker against Marcus Morrison.
It's a great little fight.
Yeah, everyone
not a
likes.
Little fight. It's a great fight.
Everyone likes that sort of fight, don't they? Sort of.
Listen, do we put Zach in? You know, we approached a lot of guys, you know, who were ranked with the BO. A lot of guys all of a sudden didn't stop picking their phones up, and I'm sure they'll be back on for fights on November the 7th with different guys. No one wants to fight Zach. It's a fair play to Marcus Morrison for stepping up in weight and obviously stepping up in class as well. He had a good fight with Chris Eubank.
He reinvented himself, hasn't he? Because
yeah.
he was in the doldrums 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't he? But
he lost a couple of 8 rounders, didn't he?
He's turned it around, didn't he? He got beat by Wellborn, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he went out to Italy in the away corner. Took him out there to lose. Remember, and he chinned Blandamora, and he's he's put himself right back in the thick of it.
That's what it's all about. I mean, you know, that's why Marcus fits on these cards with us, because he's one of those guys that will go and put it on the line. And as we just said, a loss does not define your career. You just got you dust yourself up and get back on with it again. And Marcus and Zach Parker's a great fight. He sees an opportunity to probably, Zach will have to. I'm not, no disrespect to Marcus, but Zach will have to have a bad night, I think, at the office, because he's huge at the weight, punches, he's awkward. But Marcus is capable of more than capable of going there and giving Zach a very good fight. And you won't get anything out of it if you don't roll the dice and go for it. You've got to be in the game to be at the top of it.
Obviously we want Zach to win, but Marcus, that would be a good little fight for Denzel Bentley afterwards, wouldn't it? For the second one is, once you jump in, there's other opportunities.
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. It's about delivering opportunities for guys who are willing to put it on the line. And I think my dad's always professed that to be a bit of an ethos of the company. It's if you come and entertain the fans on our shows and you then we'll look after you, and that's what we aim to do.
Just finally, touch on one or two people from your pack within the clan. Louis Lynn the other week, top of the bill on the Prospect show. I went to see him yesterday at home. He's
cutlass, all right, isn't it?
He's doing well. He's been rubbing the old bio oil into it. But he's still been training. He's still been doing that 2-hour journey to Epping. Training, even though he can't do anything.
I don't think there's anyone more dedicated, is there? It's just unreal. He absolutely lives and breathes it, and I think he's one of those guys that feels uncomfortable if he's not in the gym.
Yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't know what to do with himself. But I mean, he showed he'll jump in with anyone, won't he? He's had 2 really tough fights. You've got him the WBC title. We know they don't give them to anyone. You've got to have a certain level of opponent, haven't you? And
he's had 2 very, very tough fights in a row. Yeah.
Right, apologies, change of battery. Louis, like you say, he's an incredible specimen who'll jump in with anyone. He's got a heart of gold, he's the nicest person you'd ever meet. But like you say, you don't need to talk him into anything, do you?
No, I think he probably due.
It was a horrible fight, by the way, Johannes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't.
He didn't think twice about it, did he?
I felt quite uncomfortable watching it because I love Louis to death.
Yeah.
And Amin was an absolute warrior. Very, very close, and couldn't have argued if it had gone a point the other way. I just couldn't. It was one of those fights, but I thought Louis won it, and I'm looking forward to getting Amin back out again, because he's just shown he's there and thereabouts for ready for title fights. But Louis, and we obviously expect Louis to be put forward for the British title, which is obviously vacant, following Lee Wood winning his world title. So hopefully, watch your space. Louis' next fight might be thereabouts for a British title.
Well, I'll throw in another name who I think would be a good fight for Louis. And like you say, nobody avoids each other. A young man that's fighting this Saturday, Nick Ball. What a fight that would be, by the way.
Good fight.
They're both, like I say, they both fight absolutely anybody, and that really would be a fight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Paul Stevens has got 3 really good lads in that gym that we've signed with us, Brad and Andy Kane.
Yeah.
So it'd be a good fight with Nick Ball, Louis and Nick Ball. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind Louis fighting one of the guys that isn't as, because it's like I see it like that. Because
that's almost half the problem though, because you are so invested in them, aren't you?
Yeah.
It must be quite hard for you watching them sometimes, isn't it? When you know you've put them in a good fight.
Of course it is. I mean, but it's because they put, you know how much the guys put into it, and however some of the guys even, they make their fights look easy. This isn't easy a sport for these fellas, and they're young men who dedicate their heart and soul and bodies to the sport. And when you know them personally as well, they're not just boxers then, are they? You're very close to them, and it's very tough to see them getting, when they're in pain and when they're exerting that much energy and effort, and it literally is blood, sweat and tears that they're pouring out their bodies. But then again, when they do get wins, it makes it all the sweeter. But obviously the losses, they hurt you as much as the wins are enjoyable.
Quick one, you mentioned Andrew Kane. Is the fight between him and Liam Davis still alive?
Yeah, that'll happen pretty early next year.
Great fight again.
Really good fight.
Right, quickly moving on. Rattle through your little stable. Muhammad Ali, last fight, it quickly became evident he was fighting one-handed. But he pulled it round, didn't he?
He's had a bit of a telling off.
A bit of a scaphoid or something, wasn't he?
He's had a telling off. He's had a very stern words said to him. But we're not going to keep dwelling on, Muhammad's had a run of bad luck, because obviously his debut, the opponent got disqualified. Yeah. We got chucked out of the fight because he kept trying to wrestle him. Second fight, he had COVID, and then he had a couple of medical queries, and then obviously this one. So, although he's had a telling off, I think because of the stop-start career he's had due to,
you could see where it came from. Yeah.
You can sort of not understand it, because obviously this is not. This isn't tiddlywinks, and he shouldn't be going there unless he's 100% fit. But I think he just wanted to show that he had the balls to get in there and do it, and he got it wrong.
I think I saw you after the first round coming over to his corner and was going, what the F,
But he's had a telling off, but we're not going to dwell on it. We're going to look forward. He's going to fight. The fight we were trying to try and do is Masood Abdullah.
Yes.
So two young guys again want to put it on the line. 2-3 fights in, both of them.
Good headliner prospect.
There's no need to do it, but they both want it, and these guys want to get noticed. And
that's another sort of Louis Lin Jahanzeb headliner, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the fight we want to do. Obviously we've got to get some medical stuff clear from Mohammed first. All being well, that will hopefully happen in December.
Karol Atorma. You ask your dad about him, and he says he's got champion written all over him.
Absolutely, he's a superstar already in the making. Very humble, very dedicated.
Looks the part.
I know, me and him got that in common.
Of course, natural. That's probably what drew you together.
Absolutely. It's the opposites attract, obviously. He's got a great team around him. He's got,
sort of got all the boxes ticked in his life, hasn't he?
He really has, but that, you know what that is? It's about being focused and dedicated to it, and analysing everything at an early stage. The way he carries himself, it's like he's been doing this for 15 years. Everything's very precise and very clear, and where he wants to go and the ambition he's got is what it. Everything's very organised and dedicated. And the dietitian he's got on board. I think he works with the England rugby team, so it's the rugby team. So everything is just done. He's one of those guys. It's just very, very organised and very dedicated.
And it will stand.
Yeah, it does. It will stand in very, very good stead going forward. It's our job, obviously, to guide. Obviously the boxing side of it, the fight night side of it, is to make sure that he doesn't get ahead of himself. We just want him to develop and to progress at the correct pace.
Still very young.
Very young. Doesn't mind. He's well travelled. In terms of boxing for the Youth Olympics. He'll box again in December. I think that'll be 5 in a year. That'll be the plan again next year. So it'll be 10-0 by hopefully December 2022. And even then, I'm not sure if we want to fast track into a title, a regional title fight, because with him, I don't think there's any need to. Each fight is an individual.
It's not an automatic button push after 10 fights,
no,
is it?
No, it's absolutely not. So the plan is to get into 9 or 10-0 by December 2022, and then we'll evaluate where we go in 23. But he's definitely a star in the making. He'll have a fight. He'll have a fight in fight 7 or 8. A very competitive 8-rounder. But it's just about development at this stage, and he's going to be a star.
Now, someone I think might be a little bit more impatient for the button to be pushed. Young Samuel Noakes. the Typhoon.
Yeah.
From Maidstone.
He is delightful. Everything about him is brilliant. Outside the box, when you see him, he just smiles, polite, great man. He's got a great family around him. But God, he does get on top of the people. Really gets involved, and he just wants to stop people. Listen, eventually he's going to come up against someone who can't crack, who can't not
everyone loves the Mark fight, don't they?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of running them parallel for a little while?
Absolutely. I mean, what's the point in rushing that one? I mean,
no.
Sam goes out and does 500-600 tickets. Mark does a bundle of tickets as well. You build up their career, build up their following during the next 18 months. I think that's a European title fight. I don't even think the British titles, I think it's huge. British and European title for that.
And they're all very nice. Like a few weeks ago, like you put, well, I don't know, you didn't, but someone put Sam next to Mark when he came out the ring.
I did that.
And that was the starting point, and it was all very polite. But if you run them parallel for a year, they're going to start getting irritated with each other, and a little bit of needle might creep in.
I think what will probably irritate me is that the other one, people keep asking them about each other.
Don't mind that.
Of course they don't. But I think eventually they'll want to talk about themselves more than about the other fella. So, listen, it's one of those that you can build. The most important thing is individually that their careers are looked after properly and efficiently, and that they get the right development fights at the right time, so that when they do fight, they've both got every chance of beating each other, and that's what it's all about. 50-50 fights, but both at the time
got that natural style clash, and the stature of them, height-wise and physique-wise, it's just got everything.
Very intriguing, both with great camps, with Wayne and Mark and Alan and Sam. It's just brilliant prospect, prospective show, fight. But it needs titles, it needs a lot of buzz, and it needs some brewing.
Talking, as you just mentioned, Mr. Smith from Bromley, you've just taken on another of his fighters, the showman, Mr. Henry Turner. Yeah. You've nicked him off your old man. What happened there?
Yeah, just thought that, he maybe wants that personal one-on-one management, that we can...
Poaching within the family.
I just said to him, I said, Dick, go really. I think it's... listen, we've all got our own way of looking after our guys.
He is a talent.
And I think, Henry needs a bit of an arm around him, I think, and that's what we'll do. But again, it's just, it's the same situation as all the guys. He's an individual, and he'll be developed as an individual, not looking at anybody else, not looking over the fence at anybody else.
Could you watch him all night? I could.
He's brilliant. I mean, the sparring, I've seen him spar a few times. It's just magical to watch. Footwork's unreal.
Watch him all night.
And he'll be out November 6th.
Yeah.
Up here.
George Fox. He had one fight with you.
Wish it was a 6 rounder. I think he would have got him out there if it was a 6. So his next fight will be November 12th, I think. And it'll be a 6.
Young man, isn't he?
Young fella. I like to see. So he'll fight November 6th, and then I wouldn't mind, just putting him in for the southern area, the winner of Palata.
That's a good idea.
Akinlade, what's his record?
Oh,
do you
Christ.
The guy at Palata's fighting.
It's not the worst, but
how old is he?
Getting on. I think he's 12 and something.
So anyway, so that southern area title fight is now moved to the 5th of November.
Oh, is it?
It was supposed to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it was tomorrow.
It's been moved. So we'd like probably it'll be George or David Adelaide going for that southern area after that.
Following in Daniel's
George and Sokolowski is a good fight. There's obviously a direct comparison there with what Solomon Dakaris will do this Saturday, and obviously what David Adelaide did. And again, we've got another one to brew there between George and David Adelaide, because get both those guys to 12, 15 and 0. It's a great all London affair for the British title. It'd be a good fight, be a huge fight there.
I'll ask you about another. I mean, I know I was talking about naming your group here and your little clan within the clan, but I probably haven't scratched the surface, because sometimes they come out of the blue and upset the apple cart at different places. And Jeremiah Ponce.
Yeah. Can't really say too much about it at the minute because there's a bit of a situation with his mandatory with the IBF, but he is mandatory for the IBF, and that will be resolved in due course.
Oh, what a performance!
Oh, it was unreal, unreal. To go from Argentina to Germany for 2 weeks, isolate, training, just him and his coach in a, I think he was just in a hotel room, and they let him use one of the function suites to put a bag up in, and that was it. No sparring or nothing for 2 weeks before, for 3 weeks before the fight, and then he comes to Richard's backyard, goes to Newcastle, calm as you like all week, and does what he's done. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, fearless, pinpoint perfect, punch perfect performance, unreal. And I think, listen, I can't really say too much. What he did to put himself in the frame was magnificent, and now we're just trying to drive that his opportunity home. I think I can't say anything.
I was going to try and go for the rest of your fighters, but there's probably too many Z's involved in the name, so there's probably too much for me with the Polish contingent and all that.
Yeah, that'll be resurrected hopefully by sort of December, January. Working on something over there, so hopefully that'll be on the cards again. Yeah, plenty going on. We have a couple of the Polish guys will be fighting on the Prospect show we've got lined up in November.
There's one on the November show, isn't there?
Sushinsky's coming back over.
Is that the hard case that was on a few weeks ago? Sort of absolutely poleaxed the fellow at Wembley, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he'll be on again mid-November. Mario, come over.
Francis Warren, thank you very much. Oh, a quick word, Fury Wilder. I know you're not interested, just why you mug it off every time. But, you see any problems for Tyson?
No. I mean, Wilder's. I think everyone is saying exactly the same thing. Wilder is the most, probably one of the most dangerous punchers in heavyweight history, but he got knocked out by one of the best heavyweights in history. Not just a puncher, but one of the best heavyweights in history. I think he just steams him, just blitzes him. Wilder's obviously a guy who didn't want to just walk away from it, which you've got to give him credit for. But
there's still a buzz about Wilder, though, isn't there? When you've got a Wilder fight. A Wilder fight is still more exciting than most other.
Wilder knocks out most of the other guys.
Yeah. And he's going to bring excitement.
Wilder knocks out most of the other guys, full stop. I think with Tyson, I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to throw a shot because he's just going to be all over him, like he was in the first fight. He's elusive and everyone, it's about Tyson just, boxing. He's not just a boxer, he's a huge man. And it's, and essentially, compared to, Wilder's almost like a cruiserweight compared to what's the size of Tyson. So he's a huge man against a big puncher, and a huge, fantastic boxer who can whack as well. So
you're going to try and leg it home from Birmingham, or are you going to watch it in the hotel?
I think I might watch that one at home. I think we'll get straight in the car on the way back and watch that at home. That one. But definitely staying up for it, and everyone else should too. It's going to be a fantastic fight.
Francis Warren, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.